He's going to take your picture.
I'm recording her as well.
Oh. So this is like the 5-second?
Well, just talk about soil. I don't know much about soil. I've been learning a lot about it. At the Athens show, somebody had a space where people could write a note or an idea, and somebody said we know more about space than we do about soil. Earlier today, a woman spoke for about 3 minutes on probiotics or the fermentation of stuff for soil.
That's right.
So, tell me something about soil. I'm also thinking of the writer Bonnie Bremser, who became a soil scientist.
So there's different understandings about soil, and I would start with, I'll kind of summarize what my thoughts are about what you're asking about, is that we have the ability to communicate with soil. There's things in soil that are alive. We understand that soil is living, right? And they now understood that certain cells have feelings and emotions. If we can actually tap into that communication of the cell structure that's in the soil, we can start to change things on a very small level that will impact things on a very large level. And so those feelings and emotions then start climbing up the ladder, and we start to experience those on a much grander level.
And how do you do this?
It's a blend between what I would call science and spirituality. Okay? There's been people in history, you've talked about the people from the island that have come with some really great knowledge and understanding, and where they pulled that from and how they gained that understanding, how they were able to communicate. They were pulling on something that we describe as the unseen. And there's different ways of connecting with the unseen, because sometimes when you're looking at the soil, you don't know what's really there, right? So people will start to use their intuition, and intuition is a really good one. And the more we start to develop our intuition, the more we can start to connect with those things that are unseen. And there's tools that we can use to strengthen our intuition and our deeper understanding of things. It's like a deeper knowingness, actually.
Are there books, or how do people find out more about this information?
So historically, if you look back in the early 1900s, Rudolf Steiner was a really amazing intuitive. He blended what we call science and spirituality. And there's a lot of really great books that Rudolf Steiner has put together. He's done several talks. That's kind of where I would kind of initially take people that are on the science side and blending them into the spirituality. There's some other books that are kind of like more recent that were written by a guy from Russia. His name is Vladimir Megre, and he wrote a series of books on the Ringing Cedar series. And he tells a story of his interaction with a lady that grew up in the wilderness of Siberia, and her ability to connect with people that she had never visited before. So there's a series of about 11 or 12 books that's available. That's a really great series.
Okay. Can you tell me the title of the series again?
The Ringing Cedars. The Ringing Cedars series. The first book is called Anastasia. And Anastasia, it's a very, very great book. What I oftentimes will encourage people to do is there's two books that I read together. It's called Anastasia, which is the one I'm talking about right now, and the other one would be called The Secret Life of Water, Emoto's work. So both of those books I kind of have together. I read part of one and I read a part of the other one, and sometimes the blending of those two books together when I'm reading them helps me to open up some of those intuitive things that we all naturally have.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Scott.
Scott, thanks very much.
Cool.
Scott what?
Anderson.
Oh, Anderson, okay.